Hello and welcome to the Outcomes Over Hours show. I'm Tina Patterson and I am beyond excited about the guest that I have today. Her name is Diane Adams and we've been talking before we hit record and she has got so much gold to share with you. So she is someone who has an absolute passion for creating high performance and inclusive cultures. And she's done this particularly at companies that have had exponential growth. And so she's currently the Chief Culture and Talent Officer at Sprinklr, where she's doing this yet again. But her track record is pretty impressive, doing this in top HR roles at companies such as Cisco. And we will get into her story there about how she's lived outcomes over hours there, but where she helped the company go from 4,000 employees to over 70,000 employees. And their revenues went from 2 billion to 40 billion. She also believes in giving back and is a board member of numerous charities. But the reason I really wanted Diane on today is that she's very aligned from a purpose standpoint, where she inspires others to create extraordinary lives at both a professional level as well as a personal one. So Diane, welcome to the Outcomes Over Hours show.
Thank you, Tina. I am thrilled to be here because I think, as passionate as you are about outcomes over hours. So this is going to be so fun to have this conversation and share with others. So thank you.
Oh, beautiful. And my absolute pleasure. Well, I'd love to start. As I said, you worked at Cisco for a while. Can you share the story of how you were empowered to live an outcomes over hours philosophy 24 years ago?
Oh, wow. Tina, thank you for asking that. I literally got chills when you said it. And there are many stories, but let me just, I'll start with this story. So Cisco Systems is located in Silicon Valley, and our family lives in North Carolina. And our family had moved, to Silicon Valley. And my dad was diagnosed with prostate cancer. So I had a conversation with the CEO, so John Chambers, who has been on our board actually at Sprinklr and now coaches our CEO. I had a conversation with him and the head of sales. And I said, I would love to move back to North Carolina, do my corporate role, right? That is supposed to be in Silicon Valley. I would love to move back because I really got to be close to family. And both of them said, we trust you. We know you're going to get the results. And we want you to be where you're going to be at your best, personally and professionally. And I mean, that was just one story. We moved back. Danielle was within 2 years. So my youngest, she was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes for 2 years. And she's really good. A lot of advances in technology now. At that time, lots of ups and downs. So with low blood sugar, she'd have seizures. I want you to know, for 2 years, Danielle, and Cisco was great with this, she traveled the world. She was 4. She sat in the back of the meeting. Everybody knew Danielle, right? And you know what was so awesome? Tina, I never thought to ask for permission. I just knew that the leaders there, that the people, that they wanted our family to be at our best, like truly, personally and professionally. Yeah. So I could give you many stories and that experience, because I was there 14 years, to know that I've been able to live my life with no regrets because of the flexibility, the focus on results versus where you were, what time you work. What it's got done for my life, my family's life, friends is everything. So post Cisco, that's the culture that my team and I have really tried to create for other people. Like, that's the gift, just like you, why you've created this podcast, right? This is the gift that I want to be able to give to others. So thank you for asking that.
Oh, I love that. And when people ask me, oh, what can I do to accelerate my career? I'm just thinking about how John said yes. Chances are, and knowing you a little bit already, Diane, I would say you are already doing a great job, and doing a great job focusing on those outcomes and the value you deliver for your people, your customers, and your organization is often enough to give yourself permission, I think, to be able to do those things. What are your thoughts on that in terms of why you feel comfortable to say, yeah, you do it however it works for you and on your terms?
It's so you're absolutely right. In coaching people, giving advice, like you do, that's what I always share. Get extraordinary results, and you're going to get the freedom, the flexibility, or what you need to live your life, right? So because people are going to trust you, and then they're not going to be worried about where you are, what hours you're working, or any of that. They're just going to be able to count on you to get great results. So results matter. You're absolutely right. They matter.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'd love for you to share about your own leadership style, because I know it is incredibly successful, and also how it might have changed as you think about it over the years and the span of your career.
So my leadership style, and I think, we're really talking about it. I do trust first. And when I think about my teams, like my team now, my team's all over the world. So it is we are very focused on, coming together as a team, making decisions as a team, focusing on, we're focused on the outcomes after we agree to what will make the biggest difference. So I'd say, collaboration, results focused, the team orientation. And so those, that gives you, and providing the direction, right? Because you can provide clear direction and then give people the leeway to get the results. So not being in every detail, but providing clear direction is all talking about outcomes, all knowing what the outcome needs to look like, but I don't have to be in all the detail to figure that out. And I think the other thing, if you just think about what I care a lot about from a leadership style is, well, a few things. In addition to that, you and I were talking earlier, I care a lot that people get to show up to work as they are, that we embrace people way beyond diversity and inclusion. We embrace people for who they are. And, I was sharing with you earlier, and I'll just share this, very, very personal, but so I have, 3 children. I told you Jordan is in heaven and 2 daughters. When Jordan left this world, the last text that he sent us, it was a song, and it's called Be As You Are. And it's so reflective, of our family and what we care about, because he, some of his struggles, he was always just very, very open. This is me, all my highs, all my lows, this is me. And so we strive as a family, even before, but now more than ever, that we help, we help others, whether it's inside the workplace, outside the workplace, that they can show up and be embraced for who they are. So, and we can come back to that in a minute. But I care a lot about that. The other thing I care a lot about is well-being. And maybe I can just talk about this a little bit.
Yes, please.
Even before the pandemic, the good news is Raji Thomas, our CEO, and I were so aligned around, again, wanting people to be at their personal and professional best. Well, part of your personal best means mind, body, soul. You're great. And I love the fact that, he just embraces and supports everything that we do. And I'll just give you examples. We've offered now for years, even before the pandemic, meditation. We just had what we call a homecoming. We do this once a quarter, where people come into the office. We're very hybrid. You don't have to come into the office. However, people come in, you celebrate, you recognize. Well, I didn't know that my team had planned this, but it was really cool. Around the world, you get 3,500 people. And we have paused for 5 minutes to do a meditation. And I thought, talk about not asking permission. They just knew it is such a part of our culture that it was great to do that, in the middle of this. And there, a lot of the counseling, the therapy but as for the entire family, people just really take advantage of it. We have all kinds of physical challenges, intellectual, we have something called Learn to Grow, which is our plan. And I think you'll like this, Tina. Our learning plan is you start with your personal mission statement, because on your learning plan, it is personal and professional. And so it's your personal mission statement. What do I want to be known for, right? And then it's I'm sure you probably know the strengths finder, but what are your 5 strengths? Yeah. Because the most successful people play to their strengths. And then you have the specific goals for the year, and personal and professional. And just one quick example. It's so cool. And my team the other day, we had our own culture and talent, because we call it culture and talent versus HR, as you know. And I got the question, okay, what's on your Learn to Grow plan? We want to know what's on your Learn to Grow plan personally. And I only give you that example because it's just really awesome that in the culture, it's okay to talk about personal, professional, and growth. So I'll pause there because
oh my gosh, I've got goosebumps. I love that personal mission statement being part of your Learn to Grow plan, your development plan. And I think it's really tied in with what I believe also, which is to succeed at work, you can't just think about work Diane or work Tina. Because as we know, if you've got stuff going on outside of work, absolutely, it impacts and flows in and seeps into your productivity, your energy levels, your engagement. And so being able to think about it, actually to succeed in work, it's smarter to think about both together. I love that. And I haven't heard of other companies doing that. So for people listening, think about that when you're having your development conversations also about not only what are the work goals? And yes, they need to be there, but that personal mission statement is such a wonderful piece to come in. And I think why I also really love it, Diane, is because it acknowledges that every single employee has got things outside of work, whether they're going well or they're not going well, that That's impact right. in. So yes, I love that. So I'd love your thoughts, because I know you're a pioneer when it comes to hybrid work, and you have done it for decades now. What advice, or what are the insights that you would want leaders to amplify, the skills that really make a difference when you're leading, when you're not all in the office full time together?
Such a great question. I think I'd share first, and then I'll get to the skills. We just redefine slightly, or I should say it differently. We clarified our culture, the Sprinklr way, our way of working, living, and being. And here's the short version. We are high performers who are kind and caring. And that's going to give you these skills, because what does that mean? And matter of fact, like my team, the talent development team, and the rest of my team just went around the world, like more than $500,000, or more than $500,000 investment to go face to face with our leaders. So this is easy to answer why we did this. So clearly the results, let me just start with that. Like the high performers, I'll start with that, and then I'll go to the human skills. And the first thing is we have strong discipline. And I know you love that when I think about your background. We have really strong discipline in terms of communications and operations. I'll give you quick examples of that. Communications, I have learned the power of that in my career. So for us, that means every leader has a one-on-one every week. Every leader has a team meeting weekly. We also, 3 to 4 days, you have heartbeat calls. And what's that? That means that day you're not having a team meeting, you come together for 15 minutes. I'll come back to that. We do town halls every month, whether it's across the board or like whether I'm doing it with my own team. You do listening forums, once or twice a quarter, but just get close to 12 or 15 people to really know what you might need to improve on. And then you have your all hands. There's one more thing we do. So I'm going to stay on communications. I'll always remember Raji and I having the conversation. We went IPO a couple of years ago, but before that, it was like, what do we need to do to create this incredible culture where people do thrive personally and professionally? And he said, what if this isn't enough? Like, we were going through everything we're putting in place. And where we landed, we implemented something called the Employee Delight Assurance Program. It's as simple as this: is once a quarter, your leader and your direct report meet. And here's how the conversation goes. The first question, very intentionally, is how happy are you on a scale of 1 to 10? And what recommendations do you have for improvement? Now, that's really powerful. It could be work, or I could be saying, okay, I'm off on my exercise. Raji, you don't own that. I do. But like personally, professionally. And the second question is, how do I assess my performance on a scale of 1 to 10? Then we make sure we're aligned how we see my performance. And then the third thing is to learn to grow. How have I done this past quarter on my learning plan? And 1 to 10, and we have the conversation. I will tell you, Tina, when I joined, our attrition was really, really high. Okay. And I want you to know, in 5 quarters, and I know this was key, because you get close to your people. You do, and you start with knowing where they are really before you go into performance and learning. So I won't give you the number, but let's just say it was extraordinarily high, and it was down to 6% in 5 quarters. Wow. And it really just shows you, it was that and the power of communications, the two-way. So that when you ask, what is important now, and particularly with all the remote people, communications and staying aligned are everything. And then in addition to that, going to the results is, again, that operational cadence. You have town halls, you do the Q&A, but you also, where are we on results? You have ops reviews every quarter. So they're away, and of course, everyone has their OKRs. So 3,500 people have their OKRs, which are aligned to the CEO. So we strive to be extreme relative to the discipline to get and I would just say the third thing, when you ask about the skills, and when I say we went around the world, to teach communications, to teach the operating cadence, it's empathy. That is the other huge piece. And those conversations were so powerful. We know as leaders, we really, we get to going so fast. I literally make notes sometimes. If I hear somebody's struggling with something, I write it down, because it could be 2 weeks and we're just on a roll, right? And it's you said something earlier that reminded me, someone on my team, she always says to me, Diane, how are you today? Or how are you really? So you really know how each other is before you jump in to the work stuff.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, there is so much gold in there to unpack. I think the things that I love there is the clarity of what is it we're here to achieve, and making sure that's communicated. And one of the things I have a lot of conversations with leadership teams around is, it comes back to a word we've used before, being intentional, and being really intentional about your hybrid operating rhythm. And you can't wing it. These things should not be winged. These are things that should, as you said, and so beautifully gave the example of the cadence that makes sense at an individual level, a team level, and then a department level. I also love what you said about one-on-ones. And one of the things that I've noticed in the move to hybrid is that for a lot of employees, that even more important than when we were all in the office together, because that fear of, hang on, how does my boss know I'm working really hard if they can't see me? Without those regular one-to-ones, people can be left feeling a bit more nervous about that. So absolute wonderful. And I really want people to take away that structured operating rhythm that Diane spoke about is one of the best things that you can do to be really effective in this space.
It is. It makes such a difference. And if I can share one more thing, Tina.
Yes, please.
Is I love some of the things that our leaders do. For example, team meeting. And I'll start with my boss, so the CEO. He does a couple of things, for our regular team meeting. It always starts with 5 minutes of breath work. And I think, where in the world does your CEO, but he wants us to get out of our head? Anything could have happened, right? A kid's upset, like anything could happen in the morning. And so we start with that. And the second thing we do, and a lot of leaders do that at Sprinklr, is we do spend 15 minutes on highs and lows. So you stay really close, because again, it's like you have permission. My highs today, my highs, lows, they could be all personal. Next week, they might be all work, but you always know everybody shares the big things. I mean, how powerful is that when that's only 15 minutes a week?
Yeah.
To know where everybody is like that. So there are a lot of things like that I just strongly recommend, because it brings people together no matter where they are in the world.
Oh, I love that so much. And that 15 minutes, the return on investment as such is far outweighed if you think about the 15 minutes of that connectedness to be able to then work together. Right. It's absolutely beautiful. And what's the advice that you've been given, the best advice that you've been given over your career that has enabled you to work smarter how you do?
Gosh, the best advice that I've been given I think, well, this is how I live. And I would say I got this from my mother. You know what? We grew up intentional about everything. So make the moments matter. And so that's the positive, like being very intentional. And I'll just tell you a quick story is literally because my parents raised us that way, to be intentional and purposeful and with our lives. And what's interesting, at 23, which was quite a while ago, I have my New Year's resolutions literally till I was 23, and they were in 4 categories: the spiritual, the emotional, the physical, the intellectual. So when you talk about productive, and then I would assess them. And I know my friends are like, are you kidding? My kids, the same way, they had to do that but it really is making the moments matter. And my daughters and I we laugh a lot, because if we're doing something that doesn't feel like it makes a difference, it's like, oh my gosh, waste of life, waste of life. It's our joke. Whoop, got to change this, waste of life. And even my team knows it, because, and we do it in a fun way, but when you're doing things that just aren't productive, or they're not going to make a difference, that you need to regroup and do it differently.
I love that. I love that so much, so much. Well, I would love to finish off with some rapid fire questions. Are you up for that?
I am up for that.
Excellent. Okay, so Diane, what is the best thing you've bought for under, say, $100 over the last few years?
Oh gosh. Well, okay. The best thing, there are things that I buy. I mentioned Jordan going to heaven. My daughters and I celebrate him all the time. So tennis shoes. He loved his tennis shoes. We always get edgy tennis shoes in his honor. So tennis shoes.
I love it. Oh,
but you had to get the story. That wasn't rapid fire.
No. The story was needed. Beautiful. Are you wearing some now?
Oh, totally. They have angel wings. They have tattoos all over them. They're so cool.
Oh,
I'm not going to show them to you.
No, all good. And what about what's the book that you've either recommended or gifted most to other people?
That's easy. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. We know it's an old book.
Yeah, it's up on my bookshelf.
By Stephen Covey, right? It's invaluable. All of our new grads, we still recommend get that book.
Oh, completely. And what's the most fearless thing you've done in recent years?
You know what? I just say two things come to mind. So if we're going to do professional and personal, I think on the professional, it would be not to give examples, when, you need to say with your CEO or your boards, and you need to raise things because you know that you've got to go a different direction. And, that could be hard with so I'd say that, and love that. It's that piece about being brave and just always doing the right thing and making sure everybody else around you knows what that right thing is. And the other would be, I tried skydiving, which was really cool as well. So yeah, on a personal note, that's probably as fearless as it gets, actually jumping out of a plane.
Completely. And finally, to finish off, what does outcomes over hours mean to you?
It really does mean be intentional, focus on the moments that matter the most.
I love that so much. Well, Diane, this has been such a special interview. There is so much gold in there. And I love that there is so much that people can take away and implement, not only on the professional side, but also on the personal side. So thank you so much for being with me on the Outcomes Over Hours show.
No, thank you, Tina. I love that. I love that you're doing this. This is your gift to the world. So thank you.
Thank
It's been a pleasure.